We Are in a Marriage Word of the Week. We are in week 4. I'm Yvonne Amos, my husband George Amos, and we'd like to thank you for joining us. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. And for those of you who are returning, we're so excited that you have decided to join us again for week 4 with the lesson of communication. But before we get to the lesson of communication, we'd like to go back to catch up the new viewers that are joining us today. Week 1 was about
covenant.
Okay, George, give it to him.
Covenant. Covenant relationship with God was the foundation. We talked about committing yourselves to the Lordship of Jesus Christ in week 1.
And then we talked about trust. It's impossible to trust your spouse because you know what? We're imperfect people and we are going to fall short. And so we have to establish the covenant first with God, that we're able to trust God for what we're asking Him for in behalf of our spouse, which leads us to being what?
Flexible. Flexible. Week 3 we talked about being flexible. I think we talked about being like a rubber band. Why a rubber band? A rubber band is doing its job when it's being stretched. So in marital relationships, in our marital relationship, oftentimes we will be stretched. But we need to be that way because we need to be like a rubber band when we are flexible.
Which takes us into week 4, communication. And just like George said, flexible even in communications, because ladies, you know that our words can either build our house or tear it down. And I say that because of the type of words that we'll use. We literally disrespect our husbands with words. Therefore, they don't feel loved, they don't feel honored, they don't feel anything. But yet, we often say, why does my husband love me?
You know, Bishop makes a comment,
Yes.
and he says, there is a king and there is a fool and a spouse. So depending upon which one you speak to is the one that you will get. So if you speak to the fool, that's what you will get. If you speak to the king, you will get the king out.
A king response or a fool's response.
That's right.
And so that takes me to talking. We use words, we use attitude, we use behavior, because we can neck roll, we can roll eyes, we can point our fingers, we can do all of that. But
That's
when
right.
it comes to communicating love, what does that look like in our attitude? What does that look like with words? Well, I believe there's an intimacy that we first have to have with God.
Yeah.
Because if we know how much our Father loves us, how much He wants to build us up, how He wants to, you know, even in His words, He said, we are the apple of His eye. If you just take that word and transfer it to your spouse and say, my spouse is the apple of my eye, then you only have eyes for him. But rather than just, you know, thinking it, it would be wonderful to speak that. What do you think, George?
Well, not only that, I think our communication should be real and authentic, genuine communication. Oftentimes, I don't think we have genuine communication in our home, but it needs to be real. I think for men speak, I read a statistic somewhere where men speak 25,000 words a day and women speak 50,000 words a day. So if I'm at work every day and I'm coming home and I've spoke 24,400 words and then, you know, according to the statistics, I come home and I only have 100 words left, then that's going to be that's going to leave something lacking in my home, and I need to step up to the plate and learn how to be more flexible and come up with more words or speak less, so I can give that intimacy to you rather than giving it to someone else.
You know, George, that reminds me of a situation with us. I remember when you were working long hours and coming home and not having much communications, much conversation, I should say, rather than communication. Conversation. He didn't have much conversation for me. And yet I wanted to be intimate with him in words. I wanted to hear how his day was. I wanted to know about his day, but yet you didn't have the communication for me at that time, so I felt disconnected, if you will. And so I think communication connects us. We have to be able to relate to one another. So the flexibility that I needed to have was, I remember, you coming home and say, honey, I need about 30 minutes. Let me have about 30 minutes. You know, I've been talking to people all day.
To wind down.
Yeah, to wind down, even though I wanted you know, to come home and I wanted to be all in his face. And so when you're thinking about communicating to your spouse and you don't think that they're listening or you're not connecting, use what we have spoke about in flexibility. Be flexible this time. Maybe ask them, what is it that you can do for them?
Yeah.
You know, we have so much more to talk about on communication, but all our time is gone. You have a tip for the people? I
do have a tip. And speaking about transparent and real and authentic communication, the tip for today, I believe, is what I want to say is you know who's naked. You know who's naked when the tide goes out. Warren Buffett. Why do I say that? Because when the tide goes out, there's nothing there.
You're talking about?
There's real and authentic.
You're exposed when the tide goes out.
That's right. So follow us again on We Honor Marriage and Twitter at We Honor Marriage and Facebook. Follow us.
We'd like to invite you back next week as we do week 5 on Play Together.